people have written in questions and comments. So I thought today and tomorrow I would talk a little bit about these because they pertain to the last few BBCs. So in response to the two that I did about psychedelics, then somebody wrote in and said, how do we differentiate what is and isn't Dharma practice? Shouldn't Dharma be practiced in all aspects of life? So yes, Dharma should be practiced in all aspects of life. But to practice Dharma in all aspects of life, we really have to know what Dharma is and isn't. And I think that this is a very important question. And I know my teachers really hammered this into us a lot. And I'm very, very grateful to them for this, because I see that nowadays not all teachers emphasize this in the same way that my teachers did. Okay, so how do we differentiate what is and isn't Dharma practice? First of all, we have to study. We have to listen to teachings. We have to learn. We don't know just by ourselves what Dharma practice is and isn't. And so this is why the Buddha set up this three ways of learning that occur in sequence. First we study and we learn. Then we reflect and think about the teachings to make sure we understand them correctly. Then we meditate and put them into practice. Okay? Because if we don't know what the teachings are, then it's difficult to practice them, and it's difficult to meditate on them. And then our tendency becomes to kind of make up our own meditation, or to latch on to some small points that we may have heard and think that that's the totality of Buddhist meditation. Okay? So what is and isn't Dharma practice? This depends on the mind, okay? So Dharma practice is going to be something that lessens and eventually eliminates our wrong views and our afflictive mental states. In other words, disturbing attitudes, disturbing emotions. And that helps us to avoid creating non-virtuous karma or unwholesome karma, okay? And leads us instead towards correct views, correct kinds of emotions that are based on reasoning and on the truth, and actions that go towards liberation and towards awakening. So Dharma practice is not just being mindful. Mindfulness is the latest buzzword. It's in all the magazines. You know, when Time magazine talks about mindfulness, that, somehow it's not going to be exactly what the Buddha taught. Okay, it's not just being aware of what we're thinking and doing. It's not just, I'm angry, so I'm aware that my heart's being faster. I'm aware that my mind wants to, that I want to, criticize somebody because they dared to point out my fault. I'm mindful and aware that I'm opening my mouth and I'm speaking the truth as I know it, which is that this guy is a total idiot. And I'm mindful that after saying that, I feel very satisfied. That's not mindfulness, okay? That is not mindfulness. That is not Dharma practice, okay? Mindfulness has to go together with ethical conduct. It has to go together with evaluating our mental states, being able to discern the difference between virtuous and non-virtuous mental states, knowing the way to diminish the destructive mental states and enhance the virtuous ones. Yeah. So it's not just that kind of knowing what's going on, okay? And also, Dharma practice isn't looking holy. It's not the robes, it's not the mala, it's not, our Tibetan texts and mumbling mantra. Yeah. Dharma practice really means transforming the mind. And that's something that each of us has to do inside. So my teachers, when they taught us, they really emphasized, apparently there's a story in Tibet about one old man who was circumambulating a stupa, going around and around, which is generally considered something virtuous. But Lama Atisha, the great Indian pandit who went to Tibet to teach the Dharma, said to the old man, "Oh, it's very nice that you're circumambulating the stupa, but it would be better if you practiced the Dharma." The old man thought. So what he did is he stopped, circumambulating, and he started prostrating, because, us Tibetans, we do lots of prostrations. So he was there prostrating. Again, Lama Atisha walks by and says, "Oh, it's very good you're prostrating to the Buddha, but it would be even better if you practice the Dharma." Man's really perplexed. So he stops that. Then he sits down and he pulls out a text. And he starts reading the text. He's reading the sutras, he's reading the tantras, he's reading his sadhanas, he's saying mantra. And Atisha comes by again and says, "Oh, it's very nice that you're reciting texts and you're chanting mantra, but it would be even better if you practice the Dharma." So the man by this time is like, really, he's had it. And he says, "What do you mean, practice the Dharma? What does that mean?" And Atisha said, "Transform your mind. Release the 8 worldly concerns." Whoa. Okay. So what are the 8 worldly concerns? Yeah. Attachment to material possessions and wealth, aversion when we lack it or it's taken away from us, attachment to approval and praise, aversion to criticism and disapproval, attachment to having a good reputation, aversion for a bad one, attachment to nice sensory experiences, seeing beautiful things, hearing nice things, smelling, tasting, touching, all the sensory experiences, being attached to pleasant ones and having aversion to unpleasant or painful ones. So overcoming all of that kind of attachment and aversion, that's the first step in practicing the Dharma. It's not even the last one, it's the first one. Now, I don't know about you, but I practice all 8 worldly Dharmas consistently. It's not so easy to abandon them. Yeah. Doing real Dharma practice and transforming our mind, overcoming our attachment and anger and arrogance and ignorance and jealousy and resentment. All of that is what Dharma practice is. And it's not so easy. It takes a lot of effort. And like I said before, we really have to study and learn how to observe our mind and differentiate different mental states so that we know what to practice and what to abandon. So this kind of theme, what to practice, what to abandon, the three types of wisdom, of learning, of reflecting, of meditating, these kinds of things are mentioned in all the Buddhist traditions. They're in the scriptures from the very get-go. Yeah? So that's why it's important to learn and to really think about and then put these things in practice. Okay? So to come back, because this question was asked in response to the talks about taking psychedelics in Dharma centers. It isn't just, Dharma practice is not just that you take a psychedelic and then you're mindful of what you're experiencing. Yeah, that's not it. And, we may have all sorts of incredible experiences, but that doesn't, on drugs, but that doesn't mean that those are Dharma realizations. Yeah, it doesn't mean they're Dharma realizations. So that's why we need to learn what the Buddha taught, so we can see what constitutes realizations, and why we need to be under the guidance of a qualified meditation master and scriptural master who can help us, as we progress on the path.
So then thinking about the question that the person asked, so taking intoxicants, you can take that onto the path of Dharma? Is that what they're implying with their question? Is that anything you do, including taking intoxicants, can be taken onto the path?
That was what was I inferred from the person's question. They didn't ask it explicitly, but posing that question at the end of a talk about taking psychedelics, as part of Dharma practice, that's what I implied they meant. Yeah, and the Buddha was very clear that Dharma practice is not just being mindful while you're intoxicated. Because actually being mindful when you're intoxicated is very difficult, if not impossible, isn't it? Okay, yeah.